Hello guys, Javier here with the Real Javier Novoa channel, a platform and modality where we apply the principles of interiorism to rapid lifestyle transformation, to getting off the prison grid, guys, to being completely free. Financially free, free in your location, free in what you choose to do every day. It's complete freedom, guys, and it's something opposed to what the Matrix, or what we call in this channel the prison grid, wants. They don't want you to be free because they want to feed off your energy, guys. And today, it's raining outside, and I wanted to go to the park. Although I love the rain, the idea of the equipment getting wet didn't excite me. So what I decided to do is just take a day in. I've got the house to myself, and I've been resting. And what I'm doing now is I'm doing my GTD weekly review. I'm going through my in-basket. I am going to be going through my projects list. And it's something that we encourage you to do. If you do not know what GTD is, it is a very large component. Of course, it's optional, but it is a great component if you want to get control over your life, if you want to organize yourself, organize your space, and basically have a list of projects and next actions always at hand. Now, I'm not perfect about this. I don't always empty my in-basket. I have this weekly review probably once every 2 weeks, sometimes once a month. But when things start to get out of control, it's good to have that weekly review. And what you do is you basically clear your in-basket. You go over all of your projects and all of your next actions, and you basically rethink from a higher perspective the week that's coming up, the month that's coming up. You look at your calendar, and you're able to orientate yourself. Now, as great business thinkers say, the business plan always changes the moment it hits the ground, the moment you actually start to go into practice, but it's still good to orient your mind. Even as Grant Cardone talks about the 10X person, he says 10X your thinking as well, and that's going to save you a lot of steps. So I encourage all of you to do these weekly reviews, and I always write my ideas down on pieces of paper, and then I can look at them and review them, and if need be, I can write them down on my projects list and next actions. But I just wanted to have this short little chat with you, a little hiatus in the series that we've been talking about, because we've been going into the specifics of how to get rich, and specifically, guys, this getting rich means financially free, financially independent, and it's a way to get off the prison grid. And I don't understand how the majority of people take this long-term view to where they're going to go and work in a job and work 40 and 50 hours a week and basically sell themselves 4 years to retire at the age of 65, retire at the age of 70, and having spent all that time on the prison grid. It's because the prison grid sucks your mentality, guys. And it is a mentality, and that's why it's so difficult for people to get off. But you can get off if you realize who you are and if you know who you are. But I have to talk to people like this, especially for people who are on the fence, because if you look at this film roll and what's going on in this current reality, this prison grid program is about to collapse anyway, guys. We can go into the economic news. There's all kinds of crazy economic news just coming out, talking about inflation is already accelerating again. Of course, we know it never decelerated. They're talking about various markets crashing. Many people are saying that the charts now look like war charts. The world does seem poised for a path of going to war. And the jobs are being lost, guys. The job market had a bleaker picture over the last quarter, and we don't even know the numbers that are coming in now. So basically, it's not looking good for the prison grid. Now, that's to wake people up and to get on this path. Once you're on this path, we should not panic, because our focus is no longer on the prison grid. Our focus is in knowing who we are. It's a mindset. It's a being. It's a state of being. And once you're in that state of being, you can then switch to what we call on this channel smoothing out the film roll, which means doing the best you can to smooth things out now without panicking, because if you panic, you're just going to go backwards without thinking, oh, I have to do it now, because that actually slows things down. What speeds things up the most is having a calm trajectory and smoothing out what you can. We did videos about the Kakebo budgeting because if you've not done this, guys, and if you're just starting out on this path, maybe you're young, or maybe you just recovered from a major financial setback, maybe you're thousands of dollars in debt. Your first step before you do anything else, even before you start paying off debts, is to save that $10,000, guys. And even for some of you, $10,000 is going to look like a stretch. Well, your first step then is to save $100. And you're going to save your first $100 or the first $100 this year or this month by budgeting. And although in prosperity and in abundance we don't have to budget, and I myself hate budgeting, and even if you listen to the law of assumption teachers, law of attraction teachers, a lot of them will say budgeting is scarcity. And that's true, guys. That's true. But on the film roll in which you're on, if you really, and you have to test these out by seeing how it feels. What feels better? Being completely out of control of your finances and, not having any step forward? Or, number two, I have this tool. It's a very temporary tool, but it's a tool I'm going to use now to get me to saving my first $100, my first $1,000, so I can feel a little bit more on control or in control on this film roll. That's what budgeting does. And the Japanese style of budgeting, guys, the Kakebo, is the most effective way that I've used to actually save my first $10,000 many years ago, that I still use when I have a financial objective that can be achieved on this film roll. I'd recommend and I'd advise you to go watch that video about saving your first $10,000. It is your first step off the prison grid, guys. And again, if you haven't woken up to the fact that the prison grid is living off your energy, and it will spit you out, guys. It will spit you out. You're working these jobs, you have these 401ks, you have these benefits, and working for benefits, by the way, is like working for opium. You have these benefits, and you're ensnared in that system, and you only have one stream of income, one viable stream of income. It's a big mistake, guys. And the moment they see that you're ensnared, they will take the rug from under your feet, and you might be without that job. And very soon, because you have no savings, because you have no support network, you might be in a lot of trouble. Again, that's good, by the way, because as Lenin said, ironically, we can quote him, the worse things are, the better things are, and that may wake you up to actually go completely within. And that's where I'm here to help. That's where this channel can start to help when you're receptive to that. Because what is interiorism, guys? Interiorism is knowing that everything is within and the whole outer is simply an illusion. But when things are going good on the outer, not even good, when you're in your comfort zone, there's really no reason to go within, because basically you're just trying to affect change from without. And then when you see something that you really want, you draw back because you say, oh, I couldn't do that anyway. And by the way, my life is too nice, and so on and so forth. So you won't do it. Did you know Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, when he was working at a job, right, and it was a relatively nice job, good, well-paying job, I think, programming, he told his boss he had an idea for this company that would sell books and other things. His boss said, that sounds like a great business idea for someone that does not have as good a job as you do. Which meant that you have a great job. Why would you branch out and venture out? And it's often those people who are upper middle class, or who are even the wealthier class, but are stuck in a paradigm and in a comfort zone, that are the hardest to reach. That's why this channel reaches people who are more in the lower class, so to speak, financially, who do not have a financial windfall. So of course, people who do have the resources, it'll be easier for you, but it's harder to shake you from that paradigm because you are stuck to the honey trap. What I'm telling you now is the honey trap is running out. The matrix is going to be shown more and more for the simulation and for the illusion that it is. That is the nature of reality. Look at every single religion. It's Ramadan now. And in the Islamic scriptures, in the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, there is a great analogy to this, guys. And in the Islamic tradition, the Antichrist is called Dajjal. And of course, Dajjal means liar. And there's one saying of the Prophet Muhammad that illustrates the reality that we're living in now. He said that the Dajjal, or the Antichrist, will come with a paradise and a hellfire, which means some sort of portal or system which you can see one of them leads to heaven and paradise and bliss, and one of them leads to hellfire. And he said, if you go into the paradise, it is really a hellfire once you enter there. But if you jump into the hellfire, lo and behold, it is a paradise. So he said, when you see that Dajjal, when you see that Antichrist, jump into the fire. And once you go into that fire, you realize it's paradise. Guys, I was contemplating that, and for me, that seems very much like this false AI system that's coming up, guys. Apple just released this headset, which, incidentally, I don't think is going to go very far because many people are returning it and so on and so forth, but they are iterating this, and they are trying to make this technology more widespread. Even we saw some tech geeks like trying to drive cars with it. They got stopped by the police. It's not very common because it's not yet distributed. It's not yet affordable, but they're trying to do this. And what they're trying to do is offer people a paradise in a simulation. And you may ask, well, what's wrong with that? Because we're already in a simulation. Here's the crux of this, guys. And here's how this differs from interiorism and our methodology of imagining and our methodology of simulated reality and so on and so forth. Because it is all imagination. All of this reality is an illusion, so it's like a simulation. So what people have argued to me and what the tech nirvana geeks would argue is, well, why not just go fully in the simulation and so on and so forth. Here's why, guys. Because it's still conditional. You see, if I am to go into the metaverse or into this AI paradise or on these goggles, guess what? There's a whole infrastructure of physical things and data centers, and now what they're trying to get lithium that really depend on finite resources. And now whoever controls those resources controls the simulation, and they can cut off the simulation anytime they want. So it's another conditional trap. As are all of your manifestations, guys, which is why Abraham Hicks even said, talking to the artist who all of her art got stolen, she said that's good because it cleared the decks for other creations. You see, guys, it is not in the creations that we are to dwell. It is in the creating. And anything that amplifies our abilities to create and to actually be in the process is our true nature. Anything that says you already have it, and here, just take this pill, or here, just go into this computer, or here, just take this job, anything that makes us more dependent is contrary to our nature. If you go into yourself, guys, I promise you, you will know this by feeling, you'll know it by knowing, and you won't need me to tell you. But the prophecy about that, guys, because once you go into this AI simulation that they're trying to foist upon us, you're going to be controlled by them, and they can indeed make a hellfire, guys. Even Noah Yuval Harari, who is the great, shall we say, prophet of this AI revolution, of this singularity, who wrote the book Sapiens and Homo Deus, which means man-God, by the way. He said, and he, by the way, is Buddhist, and he goes into Vipassana meditation. I see him as basically just someone who's pointing out what's going on, like Machiavelli, for example. Machiavelli talked about human nature. He was not malevolent, but he just pointed out what was going on. Well, I think Harari is pointing out what's going on. I'm not necessarily thinking he's a cheerleader of it, but he wrote about the trajectory that he sees, and we can disagree with that or agree with that, so on and so forth. But he said that, yes, these people could make a hellfire and a paradise. Why not? They could, for all intents and purposes, keep someone alive eternally. There may or may not be a technology for that. But guys, you have the off switch, okay? What Eckhart Tolle called it. If you have not found the off switch, then you're not living life fully. And the off switch is going completely into the present moment and knowing who you are. And it's this knowing who you are which will be able to actually go into the peace, go into the tranquility, go into the silence, like we talked about in our last video, no matter what's going on, and that's the way to circumvent and short circuit this trap, guys. So prophecies are pointing to the fact that this is breaking down. Whether you look in Islamic prophecy, whether you look in the biblical prophecies, guys, this is all heading on to a major confrontation. And Greg Braden was even speaking about this in recent videos. The prophecies tell the story of a film roll, of a script. But as we know, all film rolls and all scripts are within you. So you have the choice to use whatever is going on now as a bouncing off point to get off that grid and then to get onto another film roll, and therefore you determine and change what film roll that you're on. I hope you understand me just a little bit. You're empowered to do this, guys. And what our channel's aimed to helping you do is, first of all, knowing who you are and getting there immediately, getting to where you want to be. And you actually have to go into your mentality, go within, and decide exactly what it is that you want to be. How do you want to live, and where do you want to be? Where do you want to live? And we give you tools to do that. We're going to be continually giving you tools to do that. And then you have to connect it to the film roll now. You have to take the next step, as Vadim Zeland says. And why do we have to take the next step? Because, guys, if you remain on this film roll and don't smooth it out, then the majority of your energy is going to be consumed by this film roll, and you won't have any energy to dwell on that other film roll. If you take tiny steps that you know you can take, but not so tiny that they're de minimis, but steps that you know that you can take and that actually move the needle just a little bit, then you'll find yourself dwelling more on the other film roll because you're not worried about this film roll anymore because you've smoothed it out. Indeed, the Spirit goes before you to smooth it out. Once you get there, guys, then there is no effort at all because you'll be pulled to the exact steps that you need to take. The steps will be taken for you, or you'll find yourself taking them in joy and in flow, guys. That's the way this modality works. So, I was reading over again Early Retirement Extreme, and actually we're going to have the author on for an interview. It's a great book, guys. Of course, we don't agree with all of it, right? But if you want to read, and we don't agree with the concept of retirement, because what this book talks about and what retirement is, to me, is synonymous with financial freedom. And it means that you have enough assets that yield returns, whether it's through capital gains, whether it's through cash flow, that actually you can live off a small percentage of those returns without touching your principal and without doing any other work. Basically, you're living on passive income. And that's what true financial freedom is. Of course, you're never going to retire, and you're always going to be bringing in income from other sources. You're just going to be able to direct your energy towards what you want. So never think that this is sort of a retirement where you're just sitting around, because to me, that's never going to be the case. Even to the author of this book, Early Retirement Extreme, he is not doing that. He is partaking in other activities. He still makes other streams of income. But to have that bedrock, guys, to never have to work again, but in order to do that, you have to take steps to get off the prison grid. And this book goes through how you can do that. And he has 4 quadrants. Much like Robert Kiyosaki's 4 quadrants, his are, of course, you have the salaried employee, which most people are, guys. Even people who make $200,000 a year, they're completely connected to the prison grid. They have one stream of income, and they're not able to get off that. It's basically heroin, guys. The second step, which is a little bit higher, is where I am, and it's where many of the subscribers on this channel are or attempting to be. It's called the working man. And the working man is basically what Robert Kiyosaki calls self-employed, or working in different jobs where he's not dependent on any single one, and therefore he's more mobile. Many, like air conditioner repair people, plumbers, contractors, they're in this quadrant. And this quadrant is a great place to be. You can get off the prison grid in this quadrant, but you're still dependent upon income from the work of your hands, and you have more mobility, but there's a limit to it, guys. The next quadrant is the business owner. And the business owner is also where I am and where many people on this channel are. but they're also dependent upon other people's money, which also the author calls opium, OPM, other people's money. And they're still dependent upon that for their income. Of course, they have more of a time lag because they can live for more time without generating income, but they're still a little bit dependent on that. Then there's the Renaissance man, which I believe Robert Kiyosaki calls the investor. It's equivalent with his quadrant of the investor. And this is the person who has his capitals and assets, and he, of course, is involved with the other three quadrants, but he is completely independent. He has multiple streams of income, and he can live passively off the cash flow from that invested income. That's where we're trying to be, guys. So this channel is all about getting financially free, and we're smoothing out the film roll by taking small steps, but in conjunction with that, we're actually dwelling in the state of that, so that the outer will mold according to what our idea of it is, and then we will be there, and it'll take less time than you thought possible. But you have to have the impetus, guys. Do not stay in this comfort zone. Do not stay in the matrix. Do not think, oh, I'm okay. Because the nature of the prison grid, the nature of the simulation is that it's cyclical. When we're within and we know interiorism, there is no cycle because there's only one. And in the Middle Ages, the great sages taught about the life is like a wheel of fortune, but you want to be in the hub of that wheel. That wheel does not turn, but all of the cycles turn about that hub. So therefore, if you're in the hub of the wheel, you will experience the cycles. You can watch the cycles, but you're there safely nested in your hub. You're safely nested in the knowledge of the I am, and your life will take form around and about that complete security, that complete tranquility. And it all starts now, guys. It starts by getting into the present moment. It starts about knowing who you are. It starts when you know who you are. And it starts by a simple mindset change saying, you know what? I am not in the prison grid. First of all, you can even say, I am the prison grid, because it's all happening within me, and I am therefore outside of it. I can observe it. I can even observe myself playing in it, but I've had this metanoia, this immediate changing of mind. In Arabic, you could call it tawbah, and I now know that I am independent of this prison grid, and I am no longer going to follow that comfort zone. Rather, I'm going to take steps now to smooth out this film roll, and I'm going to abide in the other film roll, and sooner rather than later, sooner than I thought possible, my life situation is going to take form around that. So guys, thanks for watching. We have a lot of exciting videos this week about getting rich, about getting off the prison grid, about early retirement. I put retirement in quotes. About getting you free from a job and a boss sooner than you thought possible, so that you can survive the crisis that's coming, and you can indeed benefit from the crisis that's coming. We have an exciting interview coming up this week with someone who you will see who it is, and your jaw is going to drop. So guys, till very soon, this is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa. I'll see you soon.